And this is, of course, YouTube Live. Today, I'm going to be talking about healthy relationships, which are absolutely essential in our society today. So, Lord, bless our time together in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, of course, if you're going to have a healthy relationship, then, of course, these are key factors in each one of these relationships. The first, of course, is honesty and trust. Both partners should feel safe and able to communicate openly without fear or without judgment. In fact, it was Jordan Peterson who said, if you happen to have something very important, of course, to discuss, the possibility of offense becomes either slim or none. But when you have something to discuss, something that is important, what is going to be very essential to that relationship is, of course, trust and honesty. You should be able to be open with people that you love. You should feel as if you can share your feelings openly without any thought of being disrespected or even misunderstood. You need to be able in a good relationship to be able to say, this is how I feel about the situation. And know that even if the person who is you're talking to may not entirely agree with you, because of your openness, because of your trust with each other, and because of your honesty with each other, of course, the relationship will actually be strengthened by being open and honest with each other. Now, that is, of course, a foundation to long-lasting relationships. Now, I know that from time to time, when we're in relationships with people, we get offended, we get bothered. But the secret is, of course, walking in forgiveness, choosing to treat the person that you are in relationship with the same dignity that you yourself would want to have. And that's why Jesus said, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. It is so important today that you and I walk with honesty and with trust. It is so fundamental to each and every relationship. Now, this next one is absolutely should be non-negotiable, and that is respect. Each person values each other's opinions, feeling, and boundaries, fostering a supportive environment. When you respect somebody, they are going to know it. Now, it's something, they did a survey with a group of men, and they asked the question, gentlemen, what is it that you really want? Do you want wealth? Do you want popularity? Do you want fame? Do you want, the material possessions? And that group of men said, no, you know what I want? I want respect. That's what I want. I want respect. I want people to feel that I have earned their respect. And this is a very important thing as well. You cannot demand respect from someone. You have to earn respect. And this is really important in a family unit or in a relationship with another person. You have to earn that respect. You can't come up to somebody and say, hey, I demand respect. You see it sometimes on social media where you'll have an individual say, you must respect me and you must respect my views. No, I don't have to do that. What you have to do is earn that respect from me. You have to, of course, do things that, of course, foster that relationship. You must respect the opinions, the feelings, and boundaries of others. Don't walk over other people's feelings. Don't walk over other people's ideas, because that will not foster respect. It will actually destroy respect. You must be respectful to people as well when it comes to relationships. If you want to have a strong relationship, you've got to be willing to show that respect. With the same amount of respect that you give to others, that is what's going to come back to you. That is, of course, the law of sowing and reaping. Also, as well, to have a strong relationship with somebody, you got to have understanding and support. Partners should feel understood and supported, especially during disagreements. You know, often, sometimes you have to agree to disagree. Both individuals in relationships usually have strong opinions. And when you are discussing those strong opinions, you should feel understood and supported. It doesn't mean that you have to agree with everything that with the people that you're in relationships. In fact, it was interesting that there's a special theological group called, of course, a yeshiva. And in a yeshiva, the individuals that are in that group can speak their opinion and their thoughts, argue and to question what it is that they believe, and feel completely and totally supported, and of course feel that their opinion is important. People in the group may not necessarily agree with them, and they'll argue with them, and they'll question what they do. And when you know what that does, that of course solidifies or changes your opinion. You need to hear from other people. You know, a good leader will always ask other people their opinion on a particular issue. Now, that doesn't mean that you walk around looking for affirmation or confirmation. What it does mean, though, is, as Solomon says, in the counsel of many is wisdom. You know, our opinion and our view is not necessarily all the same. I love this story. There was a man that was driving down the road, and all of a sudden his front wheel fell off. Well, he got out and he looked at the situation and he said, "There's no lug nuts left on my car." And so there was a missionary from another country who basically said, "I think we have a solution." He says, "What's the solution?" He says, "How many lug nuts do you have on your other wheels?" He said, "Well, 5." He says, "Why don't you take 3 of those lug nuts from the other wheels and put it on your front tire?" And he says, "And we continue our journey." So that's exactly what they did. They took 1 lug nut from each of every tire and put it on the other tire that had fallen off, and they then were able to continue their journey. And when, of course, the journey was over, the man went down to the local Canadian Tire, bought some more lug nuts, put it on all his tires, and everything was fine. He was looking at the situation thinking, what am I going to do? Somebody had a different perspective and saw things differently, but saw the solution. So often, good leadership will always do that. I read this morning about Dwight D. Eisenhower. Now, Dwight D. Eisenhower, of course, is famous because he was the commander in chief of over the D-Day invasion. And then, of course, he went on to be the president of the United States. One day, a 73-year-old lady came to visit him in the White House. Now, of course, the people who were working there said, "Well, you can't go in." She says, "I want to see the president." As it happened, he was walking through the rotunda of the White House, and he saw her standing there. Instantaneously, he walked over and welcomed her and cleared his entire calendar. You see, that lady had a strong influence in his life, and she wanted to say something about what he was doing at the time. Well, he cleared the calendar and began to enjoy an afternoon of tea. Who was this woman? This woman happened to be a local teacher in the community in which he grew up. But more importantly, she was his Sunday school teacher. And she actually influenced him to read and memorize. And it came to, his life. She made him memorize both the book of Proverbs and many of the Psalms. Interesting enough, when she had come to visit, she said, Dwight, I understand that you haven't been going to church lately. And he said, You're absolutely right. I've allowed my schedule to keep me from going to church. He says, I will go to church this next Sunday. He also recollect how that one time she actually chastised him because of the fact that he wasn't, learning his Bible as soon as he should. And he said to the people around her, This lady influenced my life so substantially because she held me to account. But he says, I also have her understanding and her unwavering support. That was a wonderful illustration about how that we are interacting with people and that we walk with understanding and we walk with support even in times of disagreement. And remember, one of the secrets, of course, of understanding and support is treating people the way that you want to be treated and to walk in forgiveness. Also, well, in a great relationship, you got to have, of course, fun and enjoyment. Healthy relationships always include elements of fun and enjoyment, and actually allowing both individuals to be happy together. Back in the 1969, there was a song from the Turtles called So Happy Together. I don't see no one, happy with you. So basically, it is important to enjoy the person that you are. They asked a bunch of women, beautiful women, about their partners. And some of their partners weren't, what we would call handsome Fabio types. My wife and I just got a brand new cat, and our brand new cat is beautiful, but he hasn't got much upstairs. Well, that's how, some people are. They're beautiful, but they may not have something upstairs. Well, these women were asked, why do you have the man that you have? And you know what they said? He makes me laugh. That's important. I asked my daughter-in-law one time, I said, what was it that attracted you to my son? And she says, he makes me laugh. That is so cool. You see, fun and enjoyment is such a vital part of a relationship. If you enjoy being together, if you have fun together, your relationship is going to strengthen. In fact, it was Solomon who said, a merry heart doeth good like a medicine. And so today, make sure that you have frivolity. Remember, Father Mulcahy, and he would say, jocularity, jocularity. Well, jocularity basically means to have some fun. So when you're in a relationship, always schedule some time for some fun. My wife and I, we love to watch, for example, comedies. And one of our favorite comedies, of course, is Corner Gas. Now, that was a program, a Canadian program about a bunch of people in Saskatchewan during the early 2000s. And it's just one gag after another. And that's why we love watching it, because the simple fact is, it is funny and we get to laugh together. But we also enjoy each other's different frivolities. My wife gets a giggle out of the fact that I sing show tunes, off key. So anyway, enjoy each other's presence and have fun. Also, as well, to have a strong relationship, you've got to work on communication. Open and honest communication is absolutely essential, allowing both partners to express their feelings and their needs without any, what we would call, of course, judgment. Now, that's really hard because many people, you know what they're doing? They're listening to give a response. They're not listening to understand. It was James who wrote in James chapter 1, he says, be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. Now, of course, I was in the radio industry for many, many years. And it was interesting that one of the things that we learned in, of course, radio is 80% of all communication is, of course, listening. And it is important to listen to what your partner has to say. So that's why I encourage you when it comes to, of course, having a good relationship, have effective communication. It's the number one area where relationships break down because we forget how to communicate. It's interesting that when you are first in a relationship with someone, you spend hours and hours talking to each other. But then what can happen over time is, of course, familiarity and also, as well, taking advantage or taking each other for granted. And the communication can drop. So that's why you need to continually be working on communication. I remember when I first started dating before she was my wife, one night we spent all night talking. We had gone to the services and then we came home and we began to talk. And before you know it, it was the following morning and we had to go off to college. But we had spent all night just talking about everything under the sun. It was really an incredible night. And I remember going to school the following morning, kind of in a zombie state, and so did Lois. But it was interesting. They said, "So what did you guys do all night?" I said, "We simply talked." And people look, "Oh, you can't talk all night." Yes, you can. But you see, when you get, in a relationship, you got to keep the lines of communication open, and also as well provide a environment where people are able to express their feelings and their needs without, of course, judgment. These elements contribute to a strong emotional connection and overall well-being in a relationship. So let's characterize them one more time, just so that you and I can have them. Number one, of course, walk with trust and honesty. Both partners should feel that they are able to communicate openly without fear of judgment. Secondly, respect. Each person values each other's opinions, their feelings, their boundaries, fostering supportive environment. Also, as well, understanding and support. You should feel understood and supported even during times of course, disagreement, and also as well, fun and enjoyment. That's important as well. And lastly, you got to have effective communication. I love that one line from, of course, Pride and Prejudice, where Elizabeth is talking to Mr. Darcy, and he says this: I, don't always feel comfortable with people around me. And Elizabeth says to him, "Well, I don't play this instrument as well as I should." But she says, "I suspect that is because I don't practice enough." She said simply this: "What you do need to do, Mr. Darcy, is practice, of course, communicating and being with people." And that's so important. We need to practice effective communication. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, but it is so effective and so necessary in relationships. Remember, most relationships don't just break down over money. Most relationships break down because of lack of communication. Let's keep, of course, the lines of communication open. Let's walk with, of course, fun and enjoyment. Let us, of course, walk with respect, with understanding, and also as well, trust and honesty. When you have these things working in your relationship, it's going to be strong. So these are my thoughts today on, of course, a healthy relationship. Now, also, as well, I want to encourage you that if you like what you've been hearing, press the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, as well, check out my daily shorts here on YouTube. Of course, they are vignettes and snapshots, little thoughts in less than 60 seconds, most of them, that may inspire and encourage your day. So, my name is Robert Dean Steele. Thank you for spending time with me. Have yourself a great and godly day and effective relationship with those around you.